Hello, this is Ian with G&G Law. I'm here with Michelle Green, our founding member and head attorney. We are talking about the Beneficial Ownership Information Report and making a how-to video for all you small business owners who need to file it and want a follow along to help you do it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ian. So jumping into the report, but before that, just a couple bullet points of information. First of all, if you're a small business, you almost definitely need to file this report. There are some exceptions for businesses that don't need to, but it might not even be worth reviewing those exceptions if you're a small business. Likely you'll have to file this. So just move forward with this process. It will be more efficient. Yes, I'm a business owner myself. I understand that having to do this report, having one more task on the to-do list as a business owner is a pain. However, it's just one of those things that has to be done. It's for a pretty good reason. The purpose of this report is it's a requirement that the FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, had to create this report under a law called the Corporate Transparency Act. So the purpose of the report is just that, corporate transparency. They want to curb money laundering and prevent bad actors from using shell companies to perform acts of terrorism, to perform money laundering, that type of thing. So the report is what it says in the title. The owners of the businesses need to provide information about themselves so that law enforcement officials can look up that information if needed to prevent those financial crimes or prosecute those financial crimes. So annoying to have to file the report, a thing on the to-do list. We totally understand that, but it's for a purpose, and unfortunately, you just have to do it. So we decided to make this video to make it easier for you as a small business owner. We know that you shouldn't have to overthink things, and we want to support you with that. So let's get to it. The first step to filing your report is to go to the FinCEN website. That's what's up on the screen here. The address is www.fincen.gov/BOI. Next, choose your filing method. And there's two ways that you could get started with this. If you want to go the efficient route and save you time in the future, you could start by creating a FinCEN ID. This is optional, but we recommend doing this first if you'll have more than one business and might have to file multiple reports at some point in the future. It will allow you to skip many questions if you just have this FinCEN ID that you can use over and over. The other option is to just start with filing a report. You might want to choose this if you're pretty sure you're only going to have this one business and you just want to get through it more quickly for now. We'll start for now with choosing to create a FinCEN ID. So first step, click Create a FinCEN ID. You'll be taken to a welcome screen here, and then you'll click Sign in or create an account with login.gov. Click that. Click login.gov. And then if you don't have a username and password, choose the Create an Account tab and follow those directions to establish a login.gov account. And submit that. I remember going through this process. They had strict password requirements, but otherwise it was pretty easy. Once you do have your login, you have your account created, sign in, and you'll be taken to the FinCEN identifier, FinCEN ID application. So go ahead and sign in with your account. Okay, and it's a very secure website. So you'll have an authentication here. Okay, once you log in, you'll be taken to the FinCEN identifier, FinCEN ID application. Here, the first step, fill in your full legal name. You do need to include your middle name and any suffix if they are part of your full legal name. So if your middle name shows up on your passport or your driver's license, put it here too. Fill in your date of birth. Good job. Next, fill in your residential address. You would only use a business address here if you were an individual operating a company that does company formations. So if you're the owner of a small business, put it in your residential address here. If you're the owner of any business, put your residential address here. Next, select the type of ID you are using. Most often, you'll use a state-issued driver's license or a US passport. Fill in the ID number from the ID that you're using, the country or jurisdiction which issued it, and the state if using a driver's license. I guess with a passport, you just need your identifying document number. Next, you're going to need to upload a scanned image of your ID document. It has to be in JPEG, PNG, or PDF format and must be less than 4 megabytes in size. And what I did, which worked for me when I did mine, was I just took a picture of my passport opened up. So not the image that shows up here. So the part of my passport where my picture is and all of the information on the passport is. Took a picture of that on my phone and emailed it to myself and then saved the email image. And then it was on my computer to submit here. You might have a different way of doing it, but that did work for me. Okay, next, you will certify that the information you are submitting is true, correct, and complete. Ian's information here, he's been filling out the form, is neither true nor correct nor complete. So he will absolutely not click this button, but you should if it is. So once you do click that I agree button, then click submit. And then you will get a FinCEN ID and submission receipt. Definitely here, once you have that, download the submission receipt and then save it for your records and save it somewhere that you know where to find it. And just a tip that I always use in these types of situations, when I save something like that, I try to think about what words I'll use to search for it later and include all of those words to make it easier to find later. Maybe you're more organized and have a good file to put it into. All right, and that's it. That's how you get your FinCEN ID. Next, we'll go through how to file the report. Now we'll go through how to file the report. So first, choose File a Report using the BOI e-filing system. Next, choose BOI e-filing Get Started. The Get Started button. Scroll down to File Online BOIR and click the link that says Prepare and Submit BOIR. A U.S. government warning will appear and you have to click I agree. There are then 5 tabs that must be completed and we'll go through each tab for you. The first one at the top in blue there is filing information. So starting with the first question, type of filing. Choose initial report, assuming that this is your first time. For question 2, it autofills the dates, so you can just click next. You're on to tab 2, reporting company. So question 3, request an ID. It's going to assign an ID to your company. So in the future, if you need to correct or update a prior report, you can just enter that number. Number 4, skip this one because you're not a foreign pooled investment vehicle. And if you are, you should probably reach out to someone to help you. Question 5, fill in your business name exactly as it appears on your filing documents with the state. So it needs to include if you're an LLC, the LLC or limited. If you're a corporation, it needs to include the Inc. portion of your name. Make sure that the spacing is correct. If you have a comma, if you don't have a comma, make sure that's all there in the correct way. Question 6, fill in if you have a trade name or DBA. A doing business as or DBA is called an assumed name in Illinois. So if you have an assumed name, fill that in there. And there's an add alternate names because it's possible to have multiple alternate names. It's possible to have multiple doing business as, DBAs, assumed names. So you do need to enter all of them if that applies to you. Number 7, select EIN for the tax identification type. Sole proprietors do not generally register with the Secretary of State, so it's unlikely that a Social Security number or other tax identification type would apply. And this video is focused on U.S. entities. So fill in a different tax identification type if you have a different tax identification type, but easy answer here, if you have an EIN, you should put EIN as your tax identification type. Question 8, fill in your EIN number. It's an invalid tax ID format because I think you need a dash there, Ian, in your totally valid EIN. Just kidding, it's not valid, that was a joke. Oh, maybe you don't need a dash. That's good to know, actually. So it just needed to be 9 characters. So don't include the dash for your EIN. That process was actually helpful to go through, I think. It might be a sticky point. Question 9, skip unless you have a foreign tax ID. Question 10, assuming you're in the United States, choose United States here. On 10B and C, enter your state or tribal jurisdiction of formation. We are Illinois, an Illinois law firm, Illinois attorneys. If you're seeing this, you're likely Illinois. But if you're not, if your business is filed in another state, like if you filed in Delaware, put Delaware there. Question 11 through 15. This is where you fill in your company address. So use your business address here. Of course, some people use their home address as their business address, so that's fine if that applies too. And then click Next. Number 16, if your company was formed prior to January 1st, 2024, check this box, and then you click Next to skip the remainder of the questions on this page. So all these fields will be clear, disabled. If that's true for you, that your company was formed before that date, then yep, that's true, and you can click that. If your company was formed after January 1st, 2024, skip this question, and then you will need to fill in the rest of this page. So feel free to jump ahead if your company was formed before January 2024, but we will proceed for those new businesses that need to fill this information out. Question 17 doesn't exist yet. So if that's still the case for you at this future date you're watching this video, then skip that. We're on to question 18, and this is the point in the report where things could get a little bit complicated, so pay attention to this one. So this FinCEN ID, what you put here, look back at the tab that you're doing, it's the company applicant FinCEN ID. Company applicant means this is the ID of the person who filed the paperwork to form your company. So we're not to the beneficial owner information yet. This is the company applicant information. So your company applicant, it's different for each business. It's whoever filed the paperwork with the Secretary of State. If you're a client of G&G Law and you hired G&G Law, your attorney, to file the paperwork with the Secretary of State to set up your business, to set up that entity, the LLC or the corporation, then it's G&G Law's, your law firm's FinCEN ID that should go here in box 18. If that is the case, then it's part of our processes. The attorneys gave you the FinCEN ID to use here. You should enter that FinCEN ID here. And you should also pay attention if you just need G&G Laws, or sometimes with certain filings, rarely you'll need another one. Ask your attorney if you need 1 or 2 FinCEN IDs here. Other company applicants could be, for example, so if you used a law firm to help you set up your entity, if you used an accountant to set up your entity, if you used a service like those LegalZoom services that we don't like to talk about very much to set up your entity, their FinCEN ID should go here. If you set up your own entity or one of the owners set up the entity for the business and they have a FinCEN ID, then their FinCEN ID should go here. That makes sense. So this question 18, to review again, it's the ID of the person who filed the paperwork to form your company. If you filed your own paperwork with the Secretary of State, enter your own FinCEN ID if you have one. If you filed your own paperwork with the Secretary of State and you don't have a FinCEN ID, skip this question and go to question 19. If somebody that you hired, an attorney, an accountant, another entity to to form your business for you, enter their FinCEN ID here in question number 18. Once you enter the FinCEN ID, then you click next, as you don't need to answer the remaining questions. Hopefully that's the case for most of you, because we went through the process to get your own FinCEN ID, or you had somebody else form your business. So let's just go ahead and click next. It's pretty self-explanatory if you filed the paperwork yourself and need to fill in your own information if you didn't get a FinCEN ID. So now if you have a FinCEN ID for one company applicant, you've entered it here in question 18. Some businesses might have more than one company applicant and need to add another company applicant's FinCEN ID. This might be the case for you if you had a law firm set up your Secretary of State paperwork, set up your business with the Secretary of State, and then you expedited the process. And so the law firm had hired a company to walk over the paperwork to the Secretary of State. If that's the case for you and you have 2 FinCEN IDs to enter under company applicant, go to the button to the top right that says Add Company Applicant. Click that. And then go ahead and enter that company applicant's FinCEN ID as well. And now we're to the meat of the beneficial owner information report, which is that 4th tab, the information about the beneficial owners. So now we're on question 35. Only check this box if the business is owned by a minor and you were reporting the parent's information. Question 36. If you created a FinCEN ID for yourself, enter it here. Then you can click anywhere outside of the box and the rest of the screen will disappear, and you can click next and skip questions 38 through 51. So creating your own FinCEN ID saves you a lot of time. Note here, stopping here, question 36 looks very similar to question 18 in that it asks for a FinCEN ID. but make sure you're paying attention to the tabs above for whose FinCEN ID they are asking for. So here for 36, we're on the beneficial owner tab. This is where you put your own, the owner of the business puts their FinCEN ID here. Don't put a FinCEN ID for a law firm or accountant or other company that you worked with to set up your LLC. This should be your own FinCEN ID here. So then if you do have your FinCEN ID, you went through the process of getting one, you can click next and skip the other questions. But for now, feel free to jump ahead if that's what you did, fast forward ahead to the video, but we'll go through the questions 38 through 51 for those who did not create a FinCEN ID. Question 37. Only check this box if you held your interest in your company exclusively through an exempt entity and the name of that exempt entity is being reported instead of the beneficial owner's information. This doesn't apply to most businesses, but if you think it might apply to you, and your company might be exempt, then visit fincen.gov/BOI and there's an FAQs page where you can check it out to see if you're exempt. It might be easiest to just leave it blank and fill out the information anyway and not worry about checking that information because providing the information won't hurt. Legal name and date of birth. Number 38, enter the name and date of birth for beneficial owner number 1. You should include the middle name and or suffix if they're part of your full legal name and they show up on your official IDs, government IDs. Question 43 through 47 is the address for beneficial owner number 1. And it's, you can see what address to use there at the top. It's residential address. So use your home address here and then note to self for the future, if when you move your home address, you'll have to make sure that you change your BOI report. I think there's more if you scroll down. Number 48. This is, you didn't, you would have already done this if you got your FinCEN ID, but since you didn't, now you have to get your identifying document type. You could use your passport or your driver's license. Those are the most common. Include the number from your ID in box 49. Question 50, enter United States, and then enter the state that issued your ID in B. Question 51, you need to upload an image of your driver's license or your passport or whatever ID you're using. It should be a JPEG, a PDF would work too. Again, what I did for this step is I took a picture on my phone of, I tried both actually. They both worked, the passport and the driver's license, and then emailed it to myself and saved it to my computer. And it worked too. Just grab that and stick that here. And then hit next. All right, beneficial owner information. You entered the information for the first beneficial owner. Many companies have more than one beneficial owners. So you need to enter the information for all beneficial owners into this section. So once you enter the first person's information, go back up towards the top. There is a button at the top right there that says Add Beneficial Owner, blue, not the tab, but the blue button. Click that. Then go ahead and if this beneficial owner has a FinCEN ID, you can enter that FinCEN ID for that beneficial owner here. That will allow you to skip the remaining questions. If they do not have a FinCEN ID, then you'll have to fill out all of that information for that beneficial owner. Once you do that, then you go back up to the top to that Add Beneficial Owner button and keep clicking that and adding all of the beneficial owners' information until you've entered all of them. And then keep in mind, this is something to keep in mind, that can maybe turn into a little bit of a hassle, but the way it is, if any of this information changes, you're going to have to update your BOI report with the updated information. So anytime one of these beneficial owners moves, changes addresses, make sure you're updating that information and keeping it current. So now we're on the fifth and final tab called Submit. This is verification that the information that you entered is all true. Complete all of the fields here before submitting. So fill in your email address and then your first and last name. And then at the bottom here, we are not going to click this box, but for those of you following along and filling out a real report, here's where you certify that you're authorized to file this BOIR on behalf of the reporting company. And you need to certify that the information is true, correct, and complete. So this is a time to, make sure that it is. There's a compliance reminder warning there. This is definitely, this is a government report. It's really important that you provide true information. You could be subject to civil or criminal penalties if there's false information here. So we are not clicking I agree. And then obviously here, if you're filling it out, you would click the I am human, and then you are able to submit your BOIR. If everything is completed correctly, you should receive a confirmation that it has been successfully submitted. And this will include your company's new FinCEN ID number. And once you receive that confirmation, make sure you download that transcript for your records and then save it to your records and file it away in a place where you'll know where it is. And then also when I save anything to my computer, I always put in a bunch of keywords. Like for this one, I did a lot of keywords because I never know what I'm going to search for BOIR, BOIR report, beneficial ownership information. Always makes it easier to find in the future. A few FAQs, frequently asked questions that come up with the beneficial ownership information report. First, how often do I need to file the BOIR? Answer: this is a one-time report unless your company or its beneficial owners experience a change in any of the information reported. This may include name changes, address changes, or a change in ownership. Any such change needs to be reported within 30 days of when it occurs. You do not need to update the report if your company applicant's information changes. Next, FAQ. How do you know who your beneficial owners are? So remember, you have to enter in every beneficial owner of the business when you file the report. And a beneficial owner is any individual or entity that owns 25% or more of the company or who has substantial control over the company. Substantial control is broadly defined by the rules, and it can include individuals that do not actually hold an ownership interest in the company. This can include officers of the company, such as the president, vice president, CFO, general counsel, CEO, COO, or anyone who performs the typical functions of these officers, and anyone with authority to appoint these officers or the board of directors. It can also include non-officers who have important decision-making power because they meet the substantial control test. For example, in a multi-member LLC, a member may hold less than 25% ownership interest, but still exercise substantial control because the operating agreement requires a unanimous vote for important decisions about the direction of the company or its assets. I think something to keep in mind here is just know that this is a newer process. This is just launched in 2024. There's not case law, right? There's not information about absolutely, yes, file this person qualifies as a beneficial owner, this person doesn't. I think we'll get more information about that as we go. In the meantime, no need to agonize over decisions like this. You can just err on providing as much information as you can, as long as it's, sometimes it takes more time to figure out whether or not you need to do something when you could have just provided the information, and you can err on the side of providing that information, and you'll be in the right. Finally, last FAQ. FAQ. Does having a DBA or a trade name or assumed name affect the filing? Answer. A DBA or trade name or assumed name only affects the filing of the report, and that it must be included in the reported information. And an updated report would have to be filed if a new DBA, trade name, or assumed name were obtained by the company. So make sure that you're including all of these types of names where they belong on the report. And then also keep the report updated. Go back and change the report if there are any changes to those names. And hopefully it all went through for you. Congratulations on filing your BOI report and getting this to-do checked off your to-do list. Feel free to reach out with any questions.